Well, that's a good start. Capture card. Mini switch to another capture card. Well, let's try this for a bit. If that does that again, I'm gonna switch to another capture card, which thankfully I do have multiple of. But hey, we're gonna play Kirby Superstar. Kirby Superstar is weird. It's the first of the Super Nintendo Kirbys, of which there are two? I think. But it's like a, not exactly a mini-game collection, but it's a collection of smaller Kirby games. Like if I remember right, Spring Breeze I think is somewhat based on the first Kirby, or Kirby's Adventure probably. Gourmet Race is a weird race one. Dynablade, and Dynablade's like a kind of standard Kirby game, I think. And the Cave Offensive is like a weird kind of almost, not quite, but kind of Metroidvania thing. Kind of prototype for what, not prototype, you know, it's kind of like setting the groundwork for what Amazing Mirror would become. So we're just gonna jump into Spring Breeze. I don't know if we need to finish all these to like... No. Oh, it's teaching us anyway. Why does it ask? Why does it ask if you need an explanation if it's just going to teach you anyway? What weird game. Yeah, we're going to play through them anyway, because I remember them being good. Like, I remember this game fondly. This is where they started doing... Okay, we can't push up to fly in this one. And my capture card's dead again. Give me a second, I'm going to switch capture cards. Let's try... Oh, I need to fix this. Let's quickly fix this. On the fly. I probably should set up both capture cards in advance, because that Shadowcast one I got does that a lot. That's kind of annoying. Sometimes it works completely fine, and sometimes it just does that. And I think it's probably more to do with my computer than the actual card. Now, why is this a different aspect ratio? That doesn't make sense. Capturing the same thing. What have I done differently? Very confused. It's the same thing. We have sound. We have sound. Well, anyway. That'll do for now. Yeah, that Shadowcast I got is good when it works, and then a lot of times doesn't work. Anyway, back to the game. This is the first Kirby game they kind of started experimenting with, like adding like charge abilities and stuff like that to your power. I don't know if it's got the tutorial thing. Yeah. So like we do different things. We do a capture beam. So we've got like a grab attack if we're near them. We can do dash, Dash Y to do that. If we're in the air, we do... So if we're dashing and in the air, we do that. It's pretty neat. But yeah, this is kind of like how how copy powers are going to work in like all of the Kirby games we play after this, pretty much. Maybe not Dreamland 3. Welcome in, Slab. The game of all time. Yeah, I think Superstar's great. But it's also been a long time since I've played it, so I'm looking forward to kind of getting back into it properly. Right, let's get rid of this power, actually. We can also do this to make a wee friend. Just go fight for us. Die for us. I need to get back used to... Now that I've been playing so many of these again, I need to get used to the fact that you can't press up to fly. Also, you can jump with your friend, that's pretty handy. You have to press jump when you're in the air, not... And you can kiss him to give him health. We go up here. Yeah. But yeah, in all the previous ones you could press up to like float, but you can't do that in this one. But yeah, I definitely remember this game fondly, but it has been a long time since I played it. But I'd be surprised if it didn't hold up. Yeah, I think that's what it's meant to be as well, but it does just look like you're giving them a wee smooch. And also, that might be grosser. Oh, can't do that. Give me some apples. Wouldn't be a Kirby game without fighting Wispy Woods at the start. Exactly. Just a wee smooch. Music's good. Oh god, you killed him. I wanted to eat him. How could you do that? Oh well. I guess the other thing is I don't really remember how many like secrets and stuff are in this. I know that though I've been playing through all the Kirby games recently and Dreamland 2 had some pretty annoying secrets in it that you needed to do. Let's see what's down here first. Oh, we can go either way. Let's go up this one first. This one was hidden. Oh god. It's fine, we got one up. I like it's brought back the Dreamland 1 style of water, where it's this kind of... I don't know how to describe it. This really transparent looking thing. I like that your partners just kind of have a mind of their own. They just float about and do stuff. Get in the door. Eat shit. Yeah, it kind of reminds me of those little toys you would get as kids that had like, I don't know if they still make them because why would they? But they would have like little plastic rings in them and you in some kind of gel like thing in it. Oh, that's not really cool. That's right, I killed your friend? Oh shit. The man's got a kill count now. Just... Your friend can like nudge you slightly. Which is kind of funny. Like not enough to really be super noticeable, but it's the reason I couldn't get through that door earlier is because he kept moving me like a Just slightly out of the way. R.I.P. Let's get a sword. Ah, I want the health though. Didn't even notice those spikes there. And you get used to Super Nintendo graphics again. Oh, that's my sword guy. Get out the way. Oh, it's the... Oh, this is not going well. Yeah. Need something with a better range on it. Okay, so far this is good. But if I remember right... Oh, I kind of wanted that. Oops. Fuck that one up. If I remember right, this is the most just normal of these. That fucking flower. At least like that guy took himself out. Well, obviously we need the rock power up. Okay, we didn't need the rock power up. This is... No. Maybe actually? No. Oh, never mind. I was gonna say maybe not bad as I died. Yeah, Great Cave Offensive is definitely the bit I remember the most. And, Dynablade. Even Dynablade I remember being kind of more straightforward. I know this... I remember this one is meant to be more, like, explicitly, you know, based on the Kirby games before it, and then the ones after are a bit more like, alright, now we're introducing new stuff. Oh, that was stupid. Oh. Had less range on that, I thought I did. It's fine. Mount DDD. Yeah, these are all shorter than proper full-blown Kirby games, but there's a bunch of them in here, so... all adds up. Yeah, like this is literally how this level starts in Dreamland. Which makes sense because that would be why they have the kind of Dreamland style water as well. Come on, buddy. I feel like they've made this ring so much bigger though. I don't think this ring's scrolled on the Game Boy version. Damn it. Those... I'm gonna get murdered. I'm always bad at this fight. Doesn't matter which game it is. It doesn't matter if this is the easy one. Do something. Oh, don't do that. I don't like that. It's not a good look on you. Ah, I knew it was gonna happen. I should have just flown over him. I was stuck in the corner. Look at that one hits. Come on. I guess that's just a bit easier to tell in the previous games because he actually has his hammer out. Yeah, exactly. But actually, it's a bit easier now. Just noticed it's actually easier to do this than in the Game Boy one because in the Game Boy one, you can't tell really what moves he's going to do. You see him running at you and then hope. But this one, God, that hammer, the star moves faster, I guess. Still gonna die. I'm gonna die again. Come on. Oh, don't do this one. Yeah, I fucked up there. Can't run all the way to the side. I need to... Those vanish so quickly. God, maybe I should have taken one of the powers. If I die again, I'll take the rock power and then just slam into him over and over. I got him, it's fine. He's dead. That's it. Kirby's giving food back to everyone. We get the credits because we finished the game. And that's one of, I think, 8 games that are in this. I need to double check. Should have had this information open. Kirby Superstar on the Wii Kirby. It has... seven main games and 2 sub-games. All right. One down. Let's do Gourmet Race? If I remember right, Gourmet Race is kind of just a minigame. Like, I don't think... Yeah. I don't think we need to finish Gourmet Race. Yeah, it's not my first time, but I've not played it in a while. Yeah, definitely. It's definitely strikes, like, the box is definitely, like... You know... hamming up the whole like, oh, it's got so many games in one. And it's like, well, kinda, but not really. It's not like Like one of those dodgy carts. Right, run, collect food. Increase your skill level and become the champion. I can do that. Speedrun Sonic R, I can do this. Oh, that's not the jump button. Ah! Just let him do that for me. Checkpoint. It's a great song. Also, I'm enjoying seeing all the Wayne Radio TV emotes. Oh my god. I'm doing terribly in this one. My Sonic R speedrun skills aren't helping at all. Alright, I'm gonna go this way if he's going that way. Didn't go back. Damn it. Again, destroyed. Probably should have grabbed one of those. Thanks, buddy. Ah, spikes. Oh, missed all those. Ah, fuck. I'd like to not lose one of these. Oh, I need to go that way. Flap your little arms faster. Well, we were behind on food in that one, but we did finish it first. I don't know. Wasn't even close. Not even close. That's quite a good. I quite like the art style on that, on those sprites. May need to steal that one. Can I get out of the screen? Alright, we'll try one more time. Just give me seconds. Right. One more go. Like I said, I don't think we need to beat Gourmet Race to actually do anything, so... But you know, I want to. I don't want to lose. I should have eaten that. Letting DDD destroy all the blocks seems like the plan though. Alright, we nailed that one. Good start. Yes. I missed all those. I feel like some of my jumps aren't happening. Oh, he's got to get to the checkpoint first. Alright. Alright. We can come back from this. We can come back from this. We had a good lead in the first one. This doesn't seem as useful as it should be. I kinda hate this power up, I'll be honest. Like for this, I'm sure it'd be fun in the platforming bits. Thanks, buddy. Oh, get the tomato. Yeah, it seems good for the going up bits. Get the tomato. I shouldn't have got the tomato because now I'm gonna not get to the checkpoint in time. Okay, we got to the golden time. We were only slightly behind on food. This might balance out. I think we've got it. Eat shit. That's me, the champion of gourmet race. That was fun. I like that. No, let's never play again. Dynablade, we do need to finish. This is a 3-star one. Good music in this one as well. I do think it's funny they made the aspect ratio of all these intro videos like really narrow kind of portrait style, just so they, I assume so they could add more detailed sprites. No, I know how copy works. I don't understand why it teaches you anyway. I assume it must show you something different if you select yes. This one has an overworld, slightly more complex. Yeah, I assume that's why. That or like Nintendo were just way ahead of the ball. Like way ahead of the game, and they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna get the TikTok generation. Get these portrait cutscenes ready for upload. In a couple of decades, people are going to be all over this. I wonder if someone must have uploaded the Kirby Superstar like intro cutscenes as TikToks. YouTube shorts, whichever, I forget what Instagram calls them, reels? Exactly, 30 years ahead of the game, they're like, alright. Portraits, where it's going. Sakurai, and they're like, yeah, well, when everyone's like watching these cutscenes on their phones, and everyone's like, what are you talking about? Just you wait and see, we're going to be the Kirby of games, and everyone's going to be like, what are you, what? Okay, I should just eat one of these, shouldn't I? I do love the music in this game, actually. Like, these are very good versions of, you know, a lot of these are songs that are in the previous Kirby games as well, but they really use the Super Nintendo to make them sound nicer. Oh my god, this is such a waste of this. Dude, do something, let me do the thing. There we go. Well, that was a good use of that lolly. I guess I should check what abilities do we actually have with the car. Y, dash and Y, repeatedly hit Y, down and Y. Y repeatedly when you're near an enemy. There's so many attacks. One thing I'll say is it's kind of weird that there's almost like a... it's not a loading time because, you know, it's Super Nintendo. That's not... Super Nintendo running on a Switch, you know, it's not loading stuff, I'm pretty sure. There's like a weird delay between, like when you pause and unpause, where it just goes to this black screen for like a second. Which actually makes me want to kind of load this up on like my Analog Pocket or something and see if that's what it always looked like, or if that's one of those things where I'm playing this on the Switch NSO service. And for some games where they had like flashing effects and stuff like that, they could, you know, impact people with photosensitivity, then they do things like add a black screen in instead. So I wonder if it's one of those, or if that's just what it always looked like. On this. Yeah, it might just be what it's always been like. Let's keep this. Let's cook. He's cooking. As 30-somethings trying to appear young say, let him cook. Oh god, I didn't realize there was a minigame in this one. It's quite fun, one of those minigames. I'll be ready next time. I'll get it next time. I like this overworld music. Hope the mix for the music's okay on the stream. But it's good music. Yeah, I think there's some secrets in this game. Which I might just cheat and look up, because I don't want to be scouring levels for me. Hey. None of that. Hey buddies. Just a wee boss rush room. Well, not quite bosses, but you know what I mean. So, chop and beam. Stab, down air stab, so we can do like the... Makes sense. Oh, ninja dude. Go. Oh, come on. Oh wait, we can't do that with this one. We just need to put that here. Those rocks looked like they were breakable. Oh, they are breakable. I see. We can go back up that way. That makes sense. Yeah, the ninja moveset's good. I should actually have taken the move. Oh, it's here. Right, you're a sword guy in it. Oh. Oh. We'll come back. we've got dive kick. Most powerful of moves. Sorry, a ninja kick. Completely different. Got an air grab as well. Oh no, that's just a regular grab. 1 damage, push Y. Push a wall in the air to stick to the wall. Okay. We can wall jump. Cool. We also just have a block in general in this game. Which I'm bad at these games, so I'll probably never use it. I probably could have blocked some of those DDD moves getting smashed up by. Did I get that one? It's one of those things where, oh my god, it feels like a prototype like Smash Brothers. It feels like I should be able to block and then hit a button to roll. I think I need some kind of AoE one to hit that. Like the bombs, I guess. I do kind of want to know now. Now that we were talking about secrets, you keep the ninja one for me. Where's the bomb idiot? Let's see if we can get it from below us. No. There must be some more obvious way of doing this that I'm just missing. The mirror ability. Oh, that guy. I was like, is there one nearby? There is. God damn it. I'm away. Let's see if that respawns him. Good. Going off screen seems to be enough to respawn enemies in this one. Oh, you're right. It's almost like they put them right next to it so you would know. What do we got? Secret exit. Let me just keep the mirror one for now anyway. What does that do? Reflect force. Oh, we've got a different guard now as well. Oh, that's more like the Smash Brothers one. See if you've got the bubble. Ah. I need the food. Okay, the mirror power is pretty good. I like that it changes your dash into that. Like, that's just Kirby running now. I did not remember that. Ah, you get away. I need my mirror back. Well, didn't see those at all. Well, the mirror was nice when we had it. Oh, those explode as well. Of course they do. Like I've never played a Kirby game before. Is there anything else? Doesn't look like it. We've already, oh, goddamn. Take that power again. It was a fun power. Yeah, I'm liking the more elaborate. Oh, I should have taken that. I like the wheelpower. The wheelpower is always fun. I'm liking the slightly more elaborate versions of the powers that they've introduced in this, like having just come from playing... so like, if you don't know, I've been playing through all the Kirby games in order, so... Last one I played was Dreamland 2? I think that sounds right. I took a bit of a break over Christmas though. Yeah, the wheel, like, dash is always one of my favorite powers. It's just... It's fun. And I like it just gives him, like, a wee hat. He's just got, like, a wee backwards cap, and that's... This is wheel power. Does it have any other... No, it's, it's just... You can break. Also, it goes over water. It's fun. Eat all the food. Kiss or kibble. Oh, I needed the hammer. God damn it. No worries, Slab. Thanks for tuning in for a bit. Yeah, I definitely recommend it. I basically was thinking of stuff that I wanted to stream, and I was like, I should play Kirby. Like, there's a bunch of Kirby games I've not replayed in ages, and so I'm just playing through all of them, and it's fun. Rift this level again and get the... We already got a secret exit here. There's not going to be a second one, surely. Oh, I can get better at that. Anyway, thank you for joining, Slab. Enjoy whatever else you're doing with your day. But yeah, I didn't have one, but whatever. Did we just get attacked? Did we hit jump? Okay, well, you're throwing all your shit in the wrong direction. I looked away for a second, and suddenly we're in this fight. Well, I mean, I'm taking this power. It seems fun. It's the fighter power. This one's got a different icon from the other ones. Oh, is it just like a selection of powers? Like the museums and the previous ones? I kind of want to stick with the fighter power though. God. Uppercut. Fireball. Oh, no! Don't know where it went. There's not a fighter one in here. Is the fighter? It is. Okay. Ooh, right. Let's get out of here. I don't know if there's multiple maps in this one. I think this might just be the map. Like, again, these are not the most elaborate of, Oh, we would have got the fire power next anyway. So that was a cool looking fire, dude. Nah. Yeah, most of the games in this are not like the longest thing in the world, so I don't think there's necessarily going to be multiple maps, but I don't know. It's been a long time since I played this. Hey friend, that's not going to go well for you, I don't think. Uppercut this dog. Oh god, he survived. Oh. I guess part of the thing they've done in this game is they've kind of combined some things that were multiple powers, like weren't throw and maybe some layer games that throw and fire become separate. I can't remember. It's not even that long since we played Dreamland. Oh, I knew I was gonna die there. I knew I was gonna die there. Let's take the rock power up. Let's just go down the slope. Okay, well I need the yo-yo power, obviously. I'm really liking the music. Ah! I did not get that one. Didn't realize there'd be a platform there. Spin. Wait, the yo-yo power's pretty good as well. Jesus. Jesus. Messed that one up. There was also like a remake version of this on the DS, but I never actually played that version. I don't know how different it was. I didn't add it to my list of games because yeah, we're already playing this. Although I did add the Game Boy Advance remake of Kirby's Adventure. I think that adds new stuff, I can't remember. I don't know, I should really look into the DS one. If it adds some stuff, I'll add it to the list. These little slide things just remind me of Sonic. Although I guess this game must have done it first, right? Like those weren't in Sonic 1. I don't think they got into like Sonic 3? I do like the yo-yo moveset. Oh, throw is a separate power on this. I guess lots of things also have a throw. Oh my god, let me get my power. Okay, you got my yo-yo. Eat shit. Wow, it's so close on that one. I'm so bad at the end of level minigame in this one. We're never going to see all the Kirby stats properly. Backgrounds look really nice in the game as well. I say as we reach a point that has a bunch of mountains that are seemingly missing their top. I wonder if that's an overscan thing. Oh no, it wouldn't be because they're that far down. Oh, you could really use the hammer here. Oh, or the rock. Great. Just like WWE, when we're in trouble, we turn to the rock. Hey. Let's try. I feel like I shouldn't have went up, but we're here now. No, we're going up in general. Cool. I should have went up. It looks like it's probably the way forward. Oh my god. Lost my power. You can't do shit when you're in the water. Fire. Fire. I love these. Like, these are a thing that have continued into like almost every Kirby game afterwards. Like these kind of like segments where you have to light a fuse, then get in the cannon to varying degrees of difficulty. Like there's some weird puzzles around them in Forgotten Land that I really love. Oh my god, I went flying because I jumped on my friend. Wasn't expecting it. Oh, it's fine. Ah, we have the copy ability. Oh, and we died. There's a door here. Didn't notice this last time. The secret. What does the copy do? Does it literally just... Analyze beam? I wonder if the secrets are all just like the museum things? Because I don't know if that makes sense. Ah, good. I analyzed them. I'll be honest, part of the reason that I started doing this and playing through all the Kirby games was literally just that I wanted to play through Forgotten Land again. Oh, took off. Was I wanted to play Forgotten Land again and didn't want to go straight into it, so I will eventually get to Forgotten Land, and that was the goal of this whole thing. Because I really like all the Kirby games, but honestly Forgotten Land might be my favourite. They really just handled the move to 3D so perfectly. Hey buddies, I guess I should have held on for that a bit longer. Oh, I had another charge of it, I didn't even notice. I'm gonna die, I have no health. Let's try to play it safe. Don't kill me. Food. Oh, I almost died and my partner ate all the food. Just like real life. That's a good little audio clip. Jesus. Fucking pelt bombs at him, go. I didn't realize I still had the charge left. I need to actually look at that. Nice time. Oh, this is the boss rush. Or mini boss rush, I guess. Hey, buddy. I want the hammer now. We've not used the hammer yet. What did they give the hammer that's new? Doesn't have the charge. Does have that, though. Oh, there's just got charge uppercut. Alright, let's go. Dead. Oh, that was the last one. Oh my god. I keep doing it like a second too late. Right, let's check this one. Yeah, it's just an art museum. Get the board power up. Board power ups, that was good. Let's just take us back. All right. Let's climb this mountain. Stick with the part. Stick with the maybe slightly questionable wing power up. Oh god. Maybe we should change to something else. This seems bad. Alright, you just do that. I don't think I can help you. I would really have liked you to have done anything else. Look at that mode 7. Hey buddy. Oh jeez, oh jeez. I should learn some of the moves. Alright, when we do that, in the corner, this will miss me. When they land, they do things I can grab. I can't. Oh no, I can grab these. Mode 7. Oh, damn it. I should have been already trying to absorb it. I feel like this guy might be the most useful ally. With this one for me. Definitely cool looking fight. I really like the design of this pod as well. I think these are really cool looking enemy. Of the Dyna Blade. Oh no. Oh, because I was in the corner, I'll be fine. Mashing buttons. Go there. Oh. Oh. Oh, come on, I'm so close to killing him. Oh, yeah, it was gonna happen. I was stuck in the corner. I should have just jumped and hit him. Let's try again. The laser power seems like the go-to for me. Power back. Right. Grab. Which I would rather you didn't grab, my friend. But I mean, it gives me a bunch of free hits, I suppose. Ah. Come on. Right, that power's going away. But it's fine, he only needs a couple more hits. Could have got one there. I can assume he was doing this though. It's to hit his head as well. Dead. Or is there a stage 2? No, just spinning around, freaking out upside down. Kill those babies. Oh god, he's actually gonna. Kirby, what are you doing? Okay, he's feeding them. Thank god. Killed their mama and then kidnapped them and fed them himself. Taught them how to fly. Okay, Dynablade's not dead. That's good. It was all just a misunderstanding. Like so many Kirby stories are. Right. So that unlocks the Revenge of Meta Knight. But we should keep going. Great Cave Offensive. So this one's the one that's kind of a little more... Not quite Metroidvania, but like it's a bit more open. Because you're like looking for treasures and stuff. Move Kirby to it, press up. I do think this is also optional if I remember right. Like I think you can just play through the levels and that's all you need. For 60, Jesus, definitely not doing that. Good music as always. Oops. Don't know why I thought that guy was dead. Got gold medal. There's no secret one here, is there? I don't know how hidden they are. There's 60, so they must be pretty hidden. Yeah, I was gonna say, this seems like the kind of place you'd hide something, right? Gold coin. Oh! Messed up. Oh, that's why that noise kept playing. Let's hit that button. Oops. Oh, I fucked up. Go. In here. So Don't hit the one with the skull. Don't hit the ominous looking one. Do my lives carry over? No, I've got 3. Okay. So I hit that one. Oh, it doesn't have a skull till I hit it. Okay. Don't hit that one at least. Got a whip. Just like Simon Belmont. Indiana Jones. Or, oh my god, this crocodile's eating my face. Oh my god. These, I've got this one already. Ah. This one? No, I need go faster. Not that much faster, but... Ah, good. That literally just takes you back here. Huh. I wonder if that... Does that go through walls? No. So that opens the... Okay, I see what I need to do. I need to go fast. I don't know if I can do that. Same thing again, take it. All the way around though. I assume that'll just take me back to the start again. Ah! So close. Nope, don't do that yet. It's tough. Kirby's not a speedy little blob. I don't know why I stopped there. Okay, well, just explode then. I guess if you hit it, you can just stand on them. Hey! We got a crystal ball. Oh, that's worth a lot. Jesus. I guess it makes sense that the ones that have slightly more of a, like, not puzzle exactly, but, you know, challenge before them would be the ones that you get more stuff for. button. Wrong button. Look, he can't. Well, obviously what hit this. Okay, that just takes it back here. Fine. Let's go fall in the lava. Fuck. Now I know. Let's not stand on that one. This. Hopefully it doesn't like self-timer. We got an expensive sword. How many have we got? Ah, we're almost at 60. So many collectibles. That's not even from this game. So many hats. There's an armor meat hat, but let's go with that one. You get lost. Ugh. Treasure, I need food. Here we go. Alright. I feel like I don't want to use the partner thing for this at all, because if they set off any of the, like, not exactly traps, but you know, I guess they are kind of traps. You know, any of the ones that'll block my path forward, then that'd be a real pain in the ass. So there's 2 exits out here. Oh my god, get lost. Get out. Right. Candy. I'm not sure if these doors are going to take me forward or if the only way forward is to go back through the way I came in. Okay, so we did this bit. I think that's all the treasure in here.
Hey, you're my best friend! You're my best friend! He's okay, I love him!
Welcome in, thank you for the raid, Shinra. How did Neo 2 go? I was watching a bit here and there, but it seemed like it was going great.
Imagine that! Maybe Mox will be an EVP!
It's done, well done. Thank you for subscription. Oh, I can save here. Well, I'm currently playing Kirby Superstar, which is the first Super Nintendo Kirby game, which is made up of 7 different, like, smaller games. This one is the Great Cave Offensive, which is like this kind of big, slightly non-linear open thing where you want to try and collect as much treasure as possible. It's weird. It's cool. Oh. Oh, well, he's dead. I bet if I'd killed him without dropping him in that hole, I would have got treasure from him. That seems like the kind of thing this game would do. And also the thing is, I don't know if there's... Like, I don't know if we need to collect treasure. Like, I want to because it's fun, but I don't know if it's, like... needed to unlock the last thing. I don't know. Anyway, I'm glad Neo went well. Timing on this is... pain in the ass. Keep just doing one thing too soon. There we go. Starstone. Okay, so far we have all of your favorite Kirby items like the Starstone, the Zebra Mask, the Ishigo candy, Screwball, which of course is a Kirby thing, the sword, all this shit. We're at 10 out of 60 items. And I don't think I'll get all 60. Helper friend, which is fine, apart from the fact that I really don't want to set off any of the traps or anything. Oh, this is where they introduced the ability you can build up static. The lightning power, basically if you run, build up static, and then you can do a bigger attack. Just thinking layer games as well. I want that. I didn't get it from it. Okay, well, whatever. You look cool now. Definitely didn't explore that last area fully. After this. And we do this. More treasure. Bandana. Too many ends. Nothing over there. I'm kind of getting to the point where I'm just like, I think I'm just going to keep going forward and if we find more treasure, good, and if not... I'm resisting the collector part of my brain that's like, I need to get every single item in this. Oh, they stole my power. I need something with a blade. Anything that can cut. Oh, I died. Oh wait, I died. Okay, I've still got my... Oh, these are in order. I've only missed one. That's not bad, actually. I didn't realize they were in order. I thought they were just... going. Wait. He stopped running into everything. Okay. We have a blade. We must have missed something in here, which might just be this guy. If he does drop treasure like I thought he might. He doesn't. Okay. There must be something in here. Did I go down this way last time? I didn't go this way last time. Beast's Fang. There we go. Okay. Oh, jeez. Thing is, I don't think I need to collect everything to finish it, but I do still need to reach the end. And I think when I die, like, I don't think this continues. I think once I run out of lives, that's just it. And I've kind of fucking used them all. Oh, I need this ability. This... No? Okay. Oh, that's tons. Get out here. That's so many points. Hold on, my phone's going off. It's fine. Alright, let's just get out of here. Let's just keep going. What's this one? Oh, it's jet. Let's keep it jet. I don't know how useful it is, but it looks cool. Oh, Jesus. What the fuck is that? This is the whale with the smoking pipe. The pipe's so good. He's like wearing a wee bandana looking thing as well. I think it's meant to look like oh, it's a little sailor outfit. This is so good. I don't remember this guy at all. Why is he not in every single Kirby game? Oh my god, I'm gonna die. Doing tricks. Oh my god. Oh, I just need one more hit. I need to not die. I died. Yeah, the pipe is so good. Thank god it continued me here. Oh god. It's kind of a weird perspective thing because like he's clearly mode 7'd into the background. But like you can still touch him and it still hurts. Oh, I'm gonna die. This way. That's not the direction I wanted to do that. Okay, the water hurts as well. I love this guy. This is the coolest enemy design this series has had so far. Ah. Oh my god. I will say, I think the projectiles that he drops that I can use should maybe not spawn where he's literally going to spawn afterwards. I think I'm gonna die again. couldn't even move yet. Oh, I'm so dead. Thought I had that rock, but I did not. I was slightly too far away. Alright, one last chance. I doubt this is even the last boss. Probably more in there. Yeah, I'm definitely going to look up this guy's sprite sheets after this. Make a wee emote of him or something. Oh, I missed all those. And I got hit. Well, at least that still does damage when I have an enemy in my mouth when he attacks. Oh, I killed the fish that I needed. Killed it again, but it's fine. Doing okay this time. I think we've got this. I say as I just stand there and get hit. I was hoping I could get the last rock and just end the fight. I did not. Such a fun moveset he's got as well, where he's just bouncing about. Just smoking a pipe the whole time. Oh my god. Just let me... Such a stupid effect. They really were just like, we have mode 7, let's do silly shit with it in this game. Oh my god. Killed multiple times against that boss and it's not even the end. Which makes sense because like I've only got 13 of 60 items. They have to be really well hidden. This variation of the Kirby theme is great. Oh my god, is this just loads of different levels? So this is where the game properly kind of opens up. Where's this go? Oh, it's the save point. Well, I guess I should save. Yeah, like the whole thing about this one compared to the other games in this kind of collection is that this is slightly more open. It's kind of what would eventually become Kirby and the Amazing Mirror on the Game Boy Advance. Like this is very much like you can see where they got to that from this. Are we doing this in... Oh, we've missed like 2. Okay. Which I love Kirby and the Amazing Mirror, but this maybe the one I'm least looking forward to playing on stream, just because it's so easy to get lost in that game. Do I actually need that power? Is there a way for me to spit powers out without making a friend? think there is. I want a friend. Let's trigger that. No? Oh, undead. Okay. Press the button. An amber rose. Fish fossil. Beast fossil. All these fossils. Okay, so we've only missed 2 items. We're 21 of the way in. About a third of the way through this game. Or this part of this game. I do think that this is generally the part of this it's like collection of games that people look most fondly on. It is Kirby time. Welcome in, Cashy. How's it going?
Add a Kirby.
Give me a second.
Add a Kirby.
Yeah, get them all out of your system.
Add a Kirby.
I should really just add an expensive, like, maximum Kirby option. Wait, give me a second. There's your 3 Kirbys. Let me double check actually if that's on a cooldown. If it's per stream. Add a Kirby. Oh, never mind. It's got a redemption limit, but it's relatively high. Alright. But yeah, welcome in. Let's go this way. How was your day so far? I assume it has barely started. Reached the limit for it. I think the limit's 10. And I think I have more than 10 Kirbys now. Let me check. I think I've shown there. I've got them all in this box now. This nice box of Kirbys. Let's see. Well, there's more than 10 Kirbys in the box. Never mind the ones that are already up there. Yeah, literally you're incapable of adding every Kirby yourself. That's the point we've gotten to. I found more Kirbys since the... I say found because I already owned them. They were just elsewhere in the flat and I've collected them. Let's save again. Not that I have any lives anyway. And that's not even including all the other little things I had. Like, these are just toys at this point. There's no, you know, like before I was adding the Game Boy games and stuff. Like, those aren't in this anymore. Like, I just have the box of toys. Too many Kirbys. I'm good, thank you. Thanks for asking. Tired, but good. Captain Falcon's helmet. It's fun that they just stuck a bunch of like references to things in this. If there's any more treasure underneath this, I just can't get it. Give me your belly. I should do that. I was joking. I mentioned this on Discord, but I'm gonna change up how I'm doing streams for a bit. These Monday streams will still be happening the same. Probably they'll be Kirby most of the time, maybe fighting games sometimes. But then throughout the week, I'm gonna put the... Oh, what happens when I get game over? Oh no. Oh no. But I'm gonna stop doing the Wii streams for a bit. I'm not really feeling them. Oh, that's actually way more forgiving than I thought it'd be. Just because I've not really been feeling them recently, so I'm gonna stop doing the Wii streams for a bit and do some... just like streaming some games that I like. Like just some of my favourite games. So there's an excuse to replay them, really. So the first one I'm going to play, which will be on Wednesday, is I'm going to play VVV. Which, if you've never played it before, is a really, really good 2D platformer. Like, one of the best. It's also incredibly difficult in places, and I will die a lot. It's actually a game that I'm going to have to... Like, right now I'm playing this just in the OBS preview. And I can't do that with VVV. I was trying it yesterday, and it's like I don't have a lot of input lag from the capture card on my preview, but there is enough that for VVV I'm like, I'm missing basic things. So I'm going to have to actually play it off a monitor, which is fine. Yeah, I agree. Gotta play what makes you happy. And I do like doing the Wii stuff, I'm just kind of a bit... I want to take a break from it for a wee bit. Like, it'll be coming back, it's not like I'm never going to do it again. Let's take the fighter. But it'll probably just be a few weeks of doing stuff, because there's a handful of games I want to play. Some of them are like... What the fuck? What the fuck? I remember this. I have a screenshot capture of this. Oh, I skipped the turn because I was trying to figure out the button. This is such a weird thing to have in here. This game's great. You earned 2 humor points. You earned 4 exam score points. 3 tenderness points. All these points. What a bizarre thing. Oops, I didn't mean that. That's fine. Let's go. But yeah, after I finish PvV, I want to do a game that's not necessarily one of my favorites, but it's one I've got like nostalgia for and haven't played since I was a kid, which is Bomberman Hero on Nintendo 64. I want to see if that game holds up. But we'll see. Well, I need these guys to fuck off. We got Tiara though. I don't like that. Well, I died. Can we go in this one? Well, we can. That's kind of cool. Hold on, my tablet's running out of battery. Give me a second. Alright, sorted. So stuff down there. Oh god. I think I'm at the point where I'm not really trying to collect all of the treasure at this point. I just want to see this through to the end now. But this is definitely something I could see myself going back to in my spare time. I'm not on stream. Oh my god. It's gonna hurt me. Wait, no, it doesn't. And like actually going collecting all 60 bits treasure. Rice bowl. Dude, we've missed so many now. There's obviously more I could get in that. It's not clear to me necessarily which things are going to take you forward. Oh Jesus. Oh Jesus. My yo-yo back. Awesome time. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Unicorn horn. There's no way out here, isn't there, back? Oh god. I fucked this up. But yeah, I've got a couple of games like in my mind for what I want to try and play between, you know, taking a break from the Wii stuff. Also, I'm going to keep doing the Kirby games because I'm just really enjoying playing these. Turns out, Kirby series, really good. So I don't think we're going to finish this one today. Because this game, Kirby Superstar, is a Super Nintendo game, and it's like, it's a compilation of 7 kind of smaller Kirby games that they made for it. They did kind of like weird experimental things for all of them. Like this one is, you know, slightly more open, has all these collectibles. There's a couple more story, like heavy ones. Oh, let's go here. I think this is the 4th one we're doing. This room look. Hammer or rock. You're not going to give me what I need. Take that though. Oh my god. Fine. No, 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 no. Oh, I'm so dead. So dead. Right. Where are we going? Oh, probably here. Oh, no, this is a save point. It's kind of weird to have a save point here, given it seems like a checkpoint anyway, but... Oh no, 30 is too much. Celsius, I assume. It's meant to be snowing here tomorrow. I think. That's what my Apple Watch told me at least. I trust my Apple Watch. It doesn't really snow much here though. Edinburgh kind of sucks for sure. Hey, this sure looks like something you put towards the end. Oh my god, I'm like sliding around. Oh, there's treasure over there. Ah. Yeah, Kirby has so many hats. How am I meant to get in there? Oh, whatever. We're not getting that one. Another save point? Yeah, Kirby can put anything, he can do anything he puts his mind to, or puts his hat on for. For the middle one. Oh, that's gone. Oh. Such a weird level design. We got the Triforce. From the hit game Kirby. Yeah, I quite like this level where it's just like you have to watch where you're falling down because there's springs everywhere that'll send you back up. I think it's such a weird design. This character design seems questionable. Game was made in the 90s. Yeah, it was made. It's a Super Nintendo game. It was this is really, yeah. This character design kind of feels like, you know, from the company that brought you the Pokemon Jinx. Exactly. Shit. Right, let's try again though. I will say though, this is clearly where they got the kind of... I was gonna say, actually, maybe not, because I think... See, this is where they got the design for like Master Hand in the Smash Brothers games, but I think Master Hand showed up in one of the previous ones before this. But these are all Master Hand's moves in Smash Brothers. I think you do something I can actually hit you with. Thank you. Yeah, give me the rocks. Perfect, thank you. Put down. Upgrade for rocks. I think I could just eat them and get power as well, actually. I'd rather do this. Come on. Throw some rocks at me. Oh, don't do that. No. Not that button. Dead. Deceased. Right, let's get back into the minecart. Forget about that entire boss. I see, that's kind of a disappointing design for boss, given like the first boss in this first boss in this part of the game, like this Great Cave Expedition stuff. It was a really cool whale with the pipe. It had cool moves. Imagine the rocket tornado, that would be unexpected. Did I take this now? This is done? Great Cave Offensive, sorry. They got the offensive part right. We did it! Here's all the treasure we got. I'm gonna go find a picture of the other boss from this game. Show you how fucking cool he was. Great Cave Offensive. Apparently there was 2 more bosses we could fight. Oh, this artwork. Oh, please give me the original fucking high-res file. Thank you, Kirby. The Kirby wiki fucking does work, man. It's so good. This is our boy. Look at him. He's got a little sailor outfit. He's got a little pipe. He's so cool. The pipe is so good. He has the pipe in his mouth the entire fight. Now, I don't know if that counts as us finishing the game. I think it must. Because, I mean, it sent us back up, right? I guess we'll find out once we finish the next one. Let's see. So yeah, this is how this game's structured. This game is like made up of these kind of smaller mini games. Tempted to do Megaton Punch. Like, I don't think I can do these without changing my setup though, because I have a slight amount of input delay. These are going to be difficult enough as is. So let's just go to this. Each of these are basically like their own game. Like, they have different gimmicks to them. Whereas I think the gimmick for this one is that the levels are all timed. Kirby's here, he's heading towards us. Oh my gosh, what are we gonna do? You'll get in the way, get rid of him. It's our meta night, what shall we do? Soldiers near the deck, assume combat mode. Yeah, so there's a timer. Kirby's just fucking up everything on the ship, Jesus. Oh, I can't eat that one. Oh, and the enemies like talk during the levels. That's pretty cool. I think something I really like about this is just there's like so much variety to it. They do such a good job of making each of these little levels feel slightly different. Or these different games feel slightly different, I guess. Oh god. Took off. Knocked Kirby off. Welcome in, boat times. It is indeed Kirby time. Kirby's been blown to the ocean. I'll conquer Dreamland with a halberd. Our first target, Grape Garden. Let's get back to that ship. I wonder how strict the time limit is. I can't imagine it's that strict. Why was that bird under there just drowning? What the fuck? Oh, I should have waited a second there. Come on. I want a time limit. Do something. Oh, not that. Don't do that. Going good, both times. Welcome in. How's your day going? Hope you're ready for some Kirby. Have you played Kirby Superstar before, both times? Because I've not played it since God knows when. I could have sworn I replayed it not that long ago, but I've been playing through it tonight. I realized that I remember like fucking none of it. Oh my god. Oh, you haven't played any Kirby game? Oh, nice. Smash Bros is basically a Kirby game. He's the main character. Oh my god. I think you might like the boss that we fought on the last one of these. Basically, this game is like a not exactly a mini game collection, but it's like a compilation of like kind of smaller Kirby like games that they made specifically for this compilation. Like weird kind of like each one has a slightly different gimmick. Like the gimmick for this one is the levels are timed. Like you see at the bottom, I have 3,000 seconds to finish this whole. How long actually? Finish this level at least, not the game. Previous one, the gimmick was that it was kind of open world and you could collect treasure through it. It's really cool. I remember really liking this game as a kid. Like this might have actually been the game that got me into Kirby. Like this might actually been the first one I played, now I think about it. Need this health. Let's beat this power up as well. This power up also another thing that's maybe aged slightly poorly, but again, this game was made in the 90s. Let's fuck up this tree. Yes, my origin story. Yeah, this is Super Nintendo one. This is not going the way I wanted it to. Give me an apple. What the fuck? Two of them. This is not ideal. Well, I'm dead. Oh my god, I'm so low on time. I don't think the timer resets when you die. Which makes sense, but also fuck. Give me apples. Give me apples. I've got a time limit. Give me apples. Oh, I shouldn't jump there. I don't think this guy can shoot down. I got greedy for apples. Oh, you can shoot down. Fuck. Give me apples. Can't you see my timer? Oh, I didn't turn around for that one. I'm gonna die again. God damn it. Don't know what killed me there. Okay, timer does reset a little bit. I wonder if it's just reset to what the time was when I got here before. Give me apples. Oh, they gave me apples first. That's rare. Feeling bad for me. It's like I can see your timer now. Oops. Yeah, suck it, tree. Don't do that. Don't do that. What the fuck was that? Trees can't do that. Fucking leave me alone, trees. Fly back to the ship. They're gonna shoot me. Oh. We'll never catch up now. Get out of my way. Again, I need you assholes to all realize I am on a timer. Why did I drop a cannon next to me? What the fuck? What is this level? That's not it. Oh, stop stealing my shit. Okay, that's gone. I don't need that power anyway. Yeah, Kirby is very resourceful. I remember how this goes. Hey, buddies. I love the audio clips for these. You die. Yeah, bow times. Once I finish this level, remind me to show you the boss that I fought in the last one. I think you like him. Food, food, food. No, bow times. I'm telling you to. Do as I say. My stream. Oh god. Exactly. I probably want one of these fire power-ups, I guess. Break! Stop spinning. Yeah, I definitely need all the fire power-ups. Fuck. I really fucked that. Alright, left or right? Don't kill them all! Alright, we're going right. Oh. Wait. What? Oh, it's the boss from earlier in the game. We beat her up and then fed her babies apples. Now we're buddies. We shot down Dynablade. Look, Kirby's reached the deck. Remain calm, let's come up with a plan. All soldiers, get Kirby now. They shot down the Bart that I was riding on. Okay, do I need... You motherfucker. I wanted that guy's wheel power up. Let's just fucking run for it. I don't know if we want to go down. Let's keep going this way. This looks like the right way. Gotcha. Now you get a taste of our power. Yeah, it's going to go right for you guys. Let's go. That did so much damage. What the fuck? Oh no. Where do we start from? I guess probably from the start of this ship. Yeah. Oh no, this is the second part, right? Okay. Game's very forgiving with its checkpoint, thankfully. No worries, boat time. I don't have a lurk command set up. I really should. I need to eat you. Gotta reach deck. Direct into the front of the twin cannon. Let's go stand in front of the cannon. That seems like a good plan. Jesus. Oh god. No! What is this left doing? Yeah, that was a waste of power, but whatever. Alright, great. I'm so gonna die again. Get ninja power. Sorry, I'm definitely gonna die here. I don't know what that one on the left is. I've never seen that guy before. He doesn't go here. What powers do I actually have with the ninja? Knife throw, shock attack. What are you? This could be the fighting power? Oh, it's a special one. It's a suplex power. Alright, that's pretty good. Kirby's getting close to the twin cannon. Alright, they're laughing a bunch, so that seems like it's going to be great for us. That's the cannon. I don't have any ranged attacks here, so I don't think I should do any damage with this. I just think about this one. Oh Jesus. Oh Jesus. Oh, okay, I can eat those cannonballs. Goodbye, my friend. He took out the cannon. Oh no, he survived. Kirby's heading towards the left wing. I feel like they were just like, ah, we'll send Kirby towards the cannon, that'll kill him, and then we just fucked it up because we're goddamn Kirby. Oh. Didn't mean that. Yeah, we're doing so well. I was gloating about how well we're doing. Wait, did we get jetpack to beat this guy? Oh my god. On the jetpack. You fucker. You. Let me eat you. Oh, there we go. Jetpack. I don't think I can do anything to this. Different power up. How much time have I lost? It's probably too much. Probably fun. I don't work well under time limits. Oh, I died. Oops. I'll probably say I can do this properly now. Get him away. Who we find? Who we find? This guy. Just shows his butt. He always does that. Weird. Probably stop doing that. Okay, he didn't do it. Maybe he's learning. Left wing fucked up. Serious damage to the left wing. Approximately 74%. We're gonna lose balance. Lower the sail. Increase the right wing power. Let's go inside the ship. Kirby's moving into the duct. Oh, that's annoying. What is he trying to do? Is he lost? Right, what are they gonna do? Who we have to fight? Very positive about this. Be quiet. This is our only chance. Don't fail again. Release heavy lobster. Oh, it's this guy. I don't think we can fight this guy yet. I think we just need to get to the end of this. This might be my favorite of these little things yet. Like, this is just a fun, silly little thing. I like Meta Knight's crew fucking panicking that Kirby is smashing his way through their ship the whole time. Like, it's just kind of funny to be able to, like, see the dialogue of, like, these enemies, these, like, minions that are just freaking out like this cute pink blob is killing everyone. Destroying everything. Fucking up our ship. What do we do? This cute pink blob. Not the cute pink blob. He's eating all of these. He's eating all of our soldiers. They had families. Major damage to the right wing. Don't worry, we've regained our balance. I guess that's a positive way to look at it, I guess. Is Kirby traditionally gendered? They refer to him as him throughout this, but I mean, I don't know. He's a pink blob. I don't know if he's necessarily, like, I don't know, gendered. That's a good question. What is gender to a Kirby? Yeah, definitely. As far as I know, like, they've had other Kirbys and things. But I don't think they've ever done, like, this is the female Kirby. You know? There are just Kirbys. I'm gonna keep this power for now. I don't know what these buttons do, but might as well hit them all. Oh, is that one down there? Oh, it's that one. What the fuck? Oh god. I'll fuck that up. Oh, fuck that up too. This does at least give us a dash, which seems useful. So we need to hit that one, that one, that one, and then you get in here, go up here. Yeah, definitely. That is definitely a thing that must exist. Okay. Jeez, you shut up. No! Oh, thank god that doesn't kill you. Kirby too forgiving a series to let you get crushed by an elevator. That seemed a bit overkill, but let's do it again. I like this power. Head towards the reactor. The reactor can't be defeated. I hope no reflect lasers hit the reactor. Well, this isn't a laser, so you're in luck for now. Okay, so I can't do anything with that. But maybe it'll send me a laser if I keep killing stuff. What is he doing? Okay, sorry buddy, I think you killed that thing. Oh, I see. Then he bounced those. Yeah, shoot me. Shoot me! Shoot me. Not with fire. No. I caught onto my track. Shoot me. That wasn't where I was. Your aim is bad. Now shoot me. Oh god, okay. That can hit me if I touch it. Oh, no, 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 don't shoot yet. Okay, now shoot. Reactor's been damaged. I need to take one of these wheels. Oh no, I can't. Have we fucked the ship up enough? Engine number 3, engine number 5. Ain't any power left, we can't fly. We've failed, it's over. Evacuate ship. We did it. We fucked them up. Let's go yo-yo. The yo-yo might be my favorite power in this game. So good. I'm not staying, I'm evacuating. Man, I just gotta stay and go down with the ship. definitely don't want to eat the sleepy one. Get in the door. Is it boss fight time? Oh, don't do that. Wait, Kirby, you can't go any further. Yeah, we can. Can and will. Who's gonna stop me? Man, night time. Let's... No, I was gonna stick with the yo-yo, but fine, let's do this. Is it prepare to die? Oh. You gave me a sword to fight him with. That's pretty cool. Kinda fucked up that my friend's just there throwing bombs at him the whole time though. That doesn't seem like a fair sword fight. I do like that when he has the mask of Meta Knight, kind of just looks like a blue Kirby. It's pretty cool. Oh jeez. We only have 30 seconds left. I guess we just gotta book it. Not get hit. Jump there. I think we're running out of time on this one. Oh no no. Did we make it? I think we made it. We did! Take that, Meta Knight. That was a fun one. I really liked that. Make this little outro. Go Spark. Dun. Knuckle Joe. Capsule J. Blade Knight. Everyone's favorite character, Blade Knight. Poppy Bros Jr. Oh, so I think there's 2 left. Although I think only one of them's an actual, like, proper Kirby game. The other one is like a mini game, like it's a boss rush thing. I might not bother with. I guess we'll find out if I did actually finish the Great Cave Offensive. I think it did. It looked like it did. It showed me credits. Yes, I did. We have one more thing. Time's it. So I might as well just do this. It's almost the middle of the night. But what else am I going to do? Let's do this. Let's see if we can finish all of Kirby Superstar in one stream. That'd be pretty fun. Yes. can't copy enemies' abilities in this game. Don't worry, there's a better way to do it. I don't think there is. Called the Deluxe Copy ability. By touching Deluxe Copy characters, Kirby acquires that ability forever. You can select acquired ones by pressing start. Oh, that is better actually. It's like Mega Man. That's kind of cool. There's no limit for using abilities. Use them as much as you want. Okay, and we can press X plus an arrow button to switch between them as well. Nice. Also, this does actually work for me because I am in fact using Super Nintendo controller. Concentrate and do your best. So this is the last one. Oh my god. It's like a whatchamacallit map? Star Fox map. Oh, we're going to this one first. It seems like a bad one to start with. What the fuck is this level? Wait, I thought I couldn't get copy abilities. I guess it's different for the bomb one because it would be kind of broken if they gave you an infinite bomb. This is a cool little silhouette level though. Oh, I got the most useless ability. Great. Although I guess maybe it's kind of useful here where I don't have my regular copy ability. Okay, let's go to this one up here. The music is so good. Wait. There you go. There's nowhere here. Okay, so I can actually get other powers using that ability. That's kind of fun. Oh, this is interesting. So, like, it's like I'm going between different seasons. Like, now I need to go another one and unfreeze this water. Or can I just go back in this one? Yeah. Oh, I died. This is kind of cool level design. Although I think they've kind of thrown way too many enemies in the area. Which I guess is their way to make it more difficult because it's the last one, but... I don't know. I don't know if it needs that. Oh, we can't... Will the tree die if we go to the right thing? There we go. We got the winner, the tree's gone. We go to all and we go inside the tree. We got power! I wonder if that means you can miss powers as well. I wonder if you need powers? Like, could I just go fight the boss and not collect any powers? Or is it going to make me go through a level where it's like, you need to use the cutter to get through this, and the fire to get through this, and so on. I like the screen shake on this fight. Yeah. I thought the power was forever. Yeah, look, it's the fountain from Dreamland. Dreamland? Adventure? Adventure. Right, we've done that one. It's all shiny. Kirby's killing all these fucking fish. Go in the door. This is a... Oh, we got the umbrella. The umbrella might be the parasol, sorry. The one power up I maybe would have been fine not getting. I would be somewhat surprised if there's a situation where the parasol will come up as a, you need this to progress. We do need fire though. Let's go give me fire. Yeah. Down there as well. The cool level with these like air pockets. We're doing a lot of stuff with this. Ah! What has it got left? 2. All the way down, get some food. Not that we needed it, but how we do it. Yeah, this is the cool level. Again, I think they've thrown kind of maybe too many enemies in these levels. I get why, but overkill. There is at least a lot of food in them as well, but yeah. He just flew into the water and drowned himself. Bye, Sonic. I feel like I have to miss some copy abilities. I love this enemy's design. I don't think I can... Yeah, I can. But hey, we got the sword power. Now what? Eh. I do guess it's also decent that some of the enemies drop health as well. Because that's a decent way to get around having so many more enemies. Right, I guess we just have to go... Oh, there's a door here. Okay. Ah, I fucked up. The maze. Okay. Let's go through the back as well. Oh, there was... Oh, there's an extra life up there. Ah. This level was doing so well. Oh, there's power up there. So there's more stuff. Interesting. I guess let's go this way. Goes out of the war. Who knows what else we missed in there? Maybe there's more powers. Oh, here we go. This is the guy. Look at him. This is the guy. I love this guy. This is the guy. Fatty Will, everyone's favorite. He's got a pipe, he's got a sailor outfit. What more do you want from a character in a Kirby game? He is everything. Oh jeez. Also he like launches himself towards the screen like that. So gonna fucking die. This fight was... I'm still gonna die probably, but this fight was way harder when I didn't have like a copy ability. I don't remember ever seeing this character before. He looks so cool. I've probably seen him in other Kirby games, just forgotten. Yeah, we'll look up this guy's sprite sheet after this and add an emote of him or something. 'Cause he's so cool looking. Oh, there was food in that rock. Bye. See you, buddy. Alright, one more down. I guess I'm just gonna follow these. One up. They needed that. Come on. Me. Up there. The wolf is something I need. All the power to have. Oh my god, can the parasol do it? No. Sword? Yay. There's nothing in here. I was wrong. There's jetpacks in here. I think we almost missed out on one of the most useless power-ups in this game. Oh my god, it works as fire? Okay, maybe it's not that useless. Right, let's see if we can do that again. This is one of those times where the enemies respawning is actually going to be a pain in the ass, though. Oh my god. I can see fly up and not interact with any of this. Definitely missed it. Oh, but what if I get something cool? Well, dead. Let's try that again. This power does not function the way I would think it would. No! These fucking enemies, man. Oh, did we do it? Did we get anything for this? Is that all for? Oh, I got the wheel power. That was so worth it. Not even joking. This is like my favorite power up. Look at this. How can you not love this power up? Go for the left one, I guess. Left? Let's just keep going left. Oh god. Alright, let's go left then. We're back here. No. There's pancakes. That must be something. Metal again? Or back here? This is back at the start. Metal again. Fuck you. This isn't doing anything to him. Make him immune to it. Oh god. So that seems like the best way to damage. Am I back? I think I'm back. Yeah, I got a message there that was like disconnected. Hopefully it wasn't disconnected for too long there. Sorry about that. Yeah, it seems like I'm back and fine though. Let's keep going. Let's keep going before my internet fully dies. It looks like we've got 4 more levels. I don't know about you, but I'm enjoying this. Sleep power. Might need to make a... I don't know if I've got any animated emote slots left, but I might need to make a sleep emote, like a sleeping Kirby one. I died. I died. You fuck off. That looks like some kind of bonus thing. Oh my god, does the sleeping heal me? Let's find out. I think it does in some of them. Not in this one. Alright, fuck it, let's just keep going. Okay. I'm gonna die again. And the minecart. I think we definitely missed at least one copy power back there, but I just want out this lava level, honestly. As well. one up there. No! Kind of fine with missing power-ups in this level because I just want out of this level. Level's an asshole. Get that one up. Missed the metal. Ah. There we go then. I need this guy to fuck off. I'm gonna fuck this up. Oh, I did it. Either I did it or it was very forgiving, but I don't think it was. Hey. Boss fight time? Oh my god, what the fuck's this thing? What the fuck is this thing? I don't remember this guy at all. Very cool though. Wait, changes color. What a cool chameleon. But yeah, we got no new copy abilities from that level. We really fucked that one up. But you know, that's life, eh? Sometimes you just fuck things up. Go into the cave. Come on. Dad. Continues better be just as forgiving in this as they've been in the previous ones. Right, I can't absorb copy abilities, but I could be using this. No, this one. Going this way for now? See, this level I actually would like to find some of the copy abilities, especially since it looks like there's a lot of yo-yo enemies around. I wouldn't mind having that one. Another boss fight? Or mini boss fight, I guess. I'm showing his butt off. Inappropriate. What the fuck? I did so much damage. Oh god, never mind, I lost all that health instantly. Come on. Thank God for that. Right. Come on. Right, he's dead. I feel like I've not really been missing stuff. Feels like I've kind of explored most areas. That one gave me something. Another mini. Yeah, weird the other ones didn't. Unless I just completely missed them something. But those two definitely drop stuff. What was this one? Yeah, some of them just don't drop anything. Weird. Strange. Right. Ah! Fuck off. Get this one. Thank God I didn't pick up all that food, eh? The willpower's so good. No worries, Cashew. Well, look after yourself, that's the important thing. You don't need to worry about being quiet. No worries, I'm glad you're enjoying it. That's our cute. This one, it's just a backwards cam. So cool. Right, what did that button do? Is it timed? At this point I feel like I need to just wait and see if the button comes back up. Okay, it does. It's timed, but it must be for something quite far. Oh my god. Oh, whatever, we're going this way. I don't think this is what the button was for, but this is where we're going. Who are we fighting? Oh, it's this guy again. Questionable. There's no bombs on it. Or at least I can just make a helper. Have a guy throw bombs for me. Or get caught by the hand for me. Well, it didn't go as well as I hoped it would. Well, that went even worse than I thought it would. Try again. What powers have I got that might be more useful? Hammer, maybe? Let's make a hammer friend and then I'll just throw the rocks back. It seems like, for most bosses, shooting the thing back at them that they spit out, like rocks or whatever, it's more damage than copy abilities do. Stupid hammer buddy's not doing great, I'm not gonna lie. I missed all those rocks. I mean, he's not doing well. I've done no damage and he's taken like a third of his health off. So I can't actually criticize. Even if he is getting the shit kicked out of him. One more. Give me a shot. Oh, two more, I guess. Well, at this point, I should probably just hit one more. Dead. And I will never need to see that boss again. Seconds. I really want bombs. Oh my god, I don't think I want any powers here. Get me out of here. Great. Alright, we got the extra life back at least. Oh my god. I did it again. That time it was because I keep forgetting that in the previous Kirby games, and in some of the later ones, I think you can press up on the D-pad to start flying. In this one you have to press the jump button. And I keep forgetting. Even though I've played through like 3 hours of this game now. I almost did it again. Oh, I don't know why that's there. Lightning will probably head up. Don't know what that did, but hopefully it was good. Let's go ahead as one, I guess. Oh, it's one of these. Ah, I fucked it. Damn it. Do I have... Jetpack gives me a charge, I think. I've got a wheel actually, that's probably better. Actually, I wonder if the wheel can just do this. No. Okay. That'd be too forgiving. Come on. You better give me this ability this time. Nope. Just some cherries. Great. I wouldn't hate the ice ability. I know I don't really use it at all when playing this, but this ice is generally good in this game. Nope. I need to fight them all, because what? This guy was the wing, I think. Because, you know, he's a chef. The wings. Oh no, he gave me the cook ability. Why did I get the wing ability when I scanned him before? Isn't it a let's use up and get the I'm gonna keep spamming this wheel. It's doing well. Fighting all these guys seems like a waste of time. But what if one of them drops the ability? I don't know why I'm doing this one though, because I already have the bomb ability. I already have the hammer as well. But even if this one did decide to drop an ability, I already have it. Oh, this one dropped the level. Oh, healthy. Oh god. Oh god. No. Wait, what? Oh. I had the wrong button, but apparently it counted anyway. Yeah, we buddy help us out. Just help us fucking with bombs. Alright, one more. One more. Then I go to bed. I assume the last level's probably just the boss fight. Oh my god. Off to a good start. No wheel. Come on. That was pointless. What is this level? I mean, it looks cool. I'm not complaining. I just can't really tell what bits are level. Oh, we have a hammer. Look at the hammer. Oh right, these hit the hammer things anyway. So really I didn't need a hammer, I just needed... We'll do that. We schmooch. Go. Oh, just only to go here. What's this? I appreciate a level that's just like, fuck it, you don't need to do a level. Where's my wheel? Oh my god. I'm gonna die. Maybe the wheel's not the play here. This level's bizarre looking. It's kind of cool how much of a jump graphically this game is from the previous ones. I mean, like it is the next generation of console, you know, Super Nintendo from NES and Game Boy, but it's, you know, it fucking shows. Super Nintendo had a lot to play with, it seems. Still can't eat this guy though. There's my jetpack. I really like the little icon down there for the jetpack. Kirby's just in sunglasses looking at jets flying by. Oh, the ninja power, okay. Let me kill you. Roaches. Come on. Oh, it's this fight again. Actually, hold on. I want to actually record this fight. Like, separately. This is so cool. Weird. Yeah. What? You don't get to retreat? Oh my god. Oh, I'm gonna die. It's not right ever. No. Reading book series read before Kindle. Up to book 3, but it's not available to buy. Oh, that's annoying. Yeah, that's weird to do that for a digital version of a book. Strange. Okay, this power is a bad power for this. I never really thought about the fact I can just block these attacks. Yeah, that's also annoying. My girlfriend and I have been trying to collect all of like... We both really like the Terry Pratchett Discworld books. And the original covers for them are like slightly smaller than like modern paperbacks, just because at the time that's the size they were. And the cover art like wraps around the spine and onto the back. And I think they look way nicer than any of the reprints they've done after that, and it's been kind of a pain to try and get them. They did re-releases of the first two in the original size, original style. And I'm just like, please just do it for all of them. They look so much nicer. But they did this little weird kind of collector thing of like, do you want the ones that look like the old ones? And it's like, yeah, I used to be able to get them for like 50p in charity shops. I'm not buying a collector version. Yeah. Oh my god, there's another stage of this. This seems bad. I'll be honest, realizing I could block during this has made this fight way easier. See, like, instantly take damage. The fact that sometimes my attack that I'm trying to charge doesn't charge is kind of annoying though. I did it! I got 2 humor points, 4 honesty points, 3 exam score points, 2 tenderness points, 2 beauty points, 2 love points. Kirby deserves more than 2 beauty points. Is this us? Is there one more level? Is this us? I forgot where we got to. Oh, there's another level here. This wasn't here before, was it? Oh yeah, this is new. What the fuck is that? Oh. Did we get a bad ending? Well, obviously we gotta go here. Perfect. What? I didn't even see what I got hit by there. What is hitting me? Something's doing damage there. But nothing's actually like hitting me. I don't know. Strange. Ugh. I assume this is the last boss fight. Or maybe there'll be a boss fight slightly after this. Oh, am I just hitting the ceiling or the floor? Is that what's doing damage? Oh, these things are shooting tiny little stars that are like barely visible. That's what it is. I literally could not see those. The real weird ass looking level. Oh my god. Big heart in the back. Hi? Wait, can I turn around? What the fuck? What was that? I don't think I can turn around, can I? There's no explanation of my abilities in this. Yeah, I don't have a... I don't have a change direction button. Oh, I can just go through those. Okay. I thought those were also solid because, you know, they had cannons attached to them. Strange. This is a cool use of the Mode 7, like, fake 3D stuff, though. Like the whole spinning room in the background. Oh, we fucked that clock up. Didn't really have any issue with the clock, honestly. He seemed kind of chill. What is this level? Look how cool this looks. Oh god. No time to look how cool the level looks. Again, what is with all these fucking moves that are so tiny and hard to see? I guess to be fair, I can make my screen slightly bigger. It's slightly small. Oh, Jesus! I saw that one. Maybe I should have blocked it. I don't want to use any of these. Oh my god. That seems bad. All of this guy's moves seem bad. But thankfully my Blade Knight guy's gonna fucking kill him on his own. I've done 0 damage. Okay, let's just throw bombs at him. The sword guy literally killed him on his own. But you know, we take those. creepy looking. These idiots gotta stop fighting now. We did it! Finished the game. Technically, our blade buddy finished it. Look at that. Adorable. That's what I'm going to be doing in 10 minutes time once I end this stream. That's what I'm going to look like. And we've got the credits. That was really fun. I really enjoyed that. No. While the credits are going, I'm going to open it up. The other part of this that we do. Which is, of course, the ranking of curbs. Make it like this. So, our current list stands. Sorry for hitting my microphone there. Kirby's Adventure is the best Kirby game. Dreamland 2 is second best, and Dreamland is the worst, but third best. You know, they're all good. There's no bad games in this list. We're going to add Kirby Superstar. And we have to decide, is Kirby Superstar better or worse than Kirby's Adventure, or Kirby's Dreamland to start with? I think, yes, it's definitely better than the first Kirby's Dreamland. Is it better or worse than Dreamland 2? Dreamland 2 had a lot of cool side stuff in it, like kind of hidden things that were kind of a pain in the ass to do, but they were fun. It had the animal companions, which are not in this. But I definitely think Superstar is better than it. And is Superstar better than Adventure? Again, I think Superstar is just better. It's got essentially 6 kind of small Kirby games in it, which honestly, if you think about it, is really just 6, you know, areas that you would have in any other Kirby game, you know, where they're split up into planets or, you know, worlds or whatever. They split them up depending on the game. It's not that big a difference, but they have these unique gimmicks between all of them that I think is really good. And then they kind of bring them all together in the last one, and they're just some really well-designed levels and cool abilities. I think Kirby Superstar is the best Kirby game we have played so far. We have a new #1. It's entirely possible as we keep playing these games, we will just keep adding new #1s every time. There's more. But I'm okay with that if we do. If the Kirby series just keeps getting better over time, I'm fine with that. Also, I know that it doesn't. Not that it gets like massively worse or anything like that, but there's definitely at least one later game that I'm like, this isn't as good as what came before it. So the arena is just like a boss rush thing. I'm not going to show that. I'll show these side games. I probably should have done these before, but I mean, these would not really factor into it much. But these are cute. I do like these. There's just a little timing minigame, which is hard for me to do in OBS. Oh, I fucked up. Yeah, I didn't crack as much. What I did? I thought I'd lost that. Oh, we fucking nailed that one. Split the planet in half. So that's Megaton Punch. Samurai Kirby is, again, just a timing thing. But it's cute. Very evil Kirby's eyes look in this one. Like, he looks so angry. He's got, like, anime villain eyes. Like the kind of pointy eyebrows like Vegeta's got in Dragon Ball Z or something. We got cooked. That's also a good Kirby. Anyway, that's the mini games. Like they're good, and I'm not going to bother doing the arena because I don't really care about boss rush kind of things. But I don't know about you, I really enjoyed that. I'm glad that that game holds up because again, this was, I believe, the first Kirby game I played. I might have played Amazing Mirror before it, but it's definitely one that I remember as being like an incredibly good game. And so I'm really glad that it is actually a really good game still. That it's not like just nostalgia or, you know, memories being clouded by time. It's just a fucking good game. Anyway, I'm not going to do what we usually do, which is play like a side game to add to the side list after this. Because it's almost 1 AM and I'm going to go to bed. But I will spin the wheel, and then on my next stream I'll start by playing whatever the side game is that comes up on the wheel. So